Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to talk about the Fay Bloodline. This is one of our last Eldritch Scion bloodlines we want to talk about. Now that's not to say we're not going to talk about more. We're going to talk about the ARCANE bloodlines in multiple videos, comparing them directly to these builds that we're talking about now, to show you what the ARCANE bloodline would have to offer in comparison with, again, a variety of different bloodlines that you might be interested in. So this character is going to be a dex-based character. I've already leveled her up. She is a gnome. There's a reason for that. You'll see that I have a strength penalty here because I have reduced person on, a bonus to dex besides. So normally my stats are 10 for strength, 16 dex, 10 con, 12 intelligence, 10 wisdom. I started off with 19 charisma and then invested all 5 points in the charisma. This is going to be a non-solo character, a non-tank character no less, and you're going to be using things like enchantments as well as illusions, so you are a little bit of expert in both. There is a reason for that, hence the reason for going gnome. For those that are interested in taking this particular bloodline into the enchanter side of things, know this: you're only going to get 2 enchantments for free. We don't get any as we level up until then, all the way to 19, and at which point you can grab a bunch more, sure. And they also give you an enchantment spell-like ability here, which again you can pick up as the spell at level 19, but again, you're getting the free ability. That's fine too, and it is an enchantment. Now, that's not that much to work with, especially if you have to wait all the way to level 19. And I thought to myself, well, you know, we do get this nice bonus to enchantment, so of course it makes sense to still be an enchanter. Then I'm like, well, what else can we do to supplement it? And of course I could do the typical: go evocation, conjurer, transmutation, necromancy. Again, none of this smacks of Fey. But I'm like, well, you know, enchantment's a lot like an illusion in that you're messing with someone's mind. And I thought, well, why not do an illusion build? So this is an illusionist as well, hence the reason for dipping into gnome. We get a +1 to DCs for illusion spells that we cast, +2 to enchantment because of this. So right off the bat we have a slightly bigger advantage on those 2 spell types. Now again, of course, we need the spells to do that. The sad part of this is, again, much like enchantment, illusion, we only get 2 spells as we level up that we can pick. Don't have to, but we did. That we can pick level 1 and level 4 spell casting that are illusions that have DC checks. Now that's fine, we took both of them for good reason. Of course, more hidden behind the wall of level 19 stuff. And again, you'd be like, well, okay, so now you have potentially 4 spells that you're kind of buffing. That's really not that much to really carry us all the way. The stuff they give us is decent besides, so don't get me wrong. You're going to have plenty to work with. Let's actually look at what the class has to offer. But real quick, if you wanted to go a true enchanter, in my opinion, the way to do it would be to take this bloodline but on the sorcerer build. And you would not take a gnome. You would actually go for enchanting, and therefore you should maximize enchanting and go for a tiefling build, because there's a tiefling out there that has a +1 to their enchantment DCs as well, which would stack with this, which would stack with spell focus and greater spell focus enchantment. So again, a chance for you to get 2, 3, 4, 5, +5 to your DC checks for all enchantments. Now, just so we're clear on that, this may be slightly different for a sorcerer. I haven't looked into it, but again, if it's the same, it's definitely powerful. There's a couple things that we're going to get as a sorcerer that we wouldn't get, of course, as a magus. For instance, the ability to pick any enchantment at any level that we have access to. Level 1, 2, also level 9, stuff that we will never have access to because we don't get 7, 8, or 9 spells. So, there are differences. I'm not saying it's better, but if you wanted to be an enchanter or enchantress, that's the way I would have taken it. But you're not here for that. You're actually here for an Eldritch Scion build. So what do we do with it? Well, I went dexterity, and the reason for this is simply nothing more than, you know, your Fey. To be a strong Fey doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Agile Fey, that makes sense to me. So that's my rationale. That doesn't mean you have to go that route, but I'm okay with it. I don't mind being a dex-based character. That does mean, however, we're probably not going to be working with heavy armor even when it shows up, unless maybe you get the mithril kind. The reason for this is, as you can see, I'm already low in speed. As a gnome, you only move at 20, and then of course you put on something like medium armor and it drops it by 5. So I'm down to 15 now. It makes me really, really slow in a fight. Now I could, of course, do Expeditious Retreat. Weirdly, though, as you'll see when I get to my spells, I did not pick Expeditious Retreat for a good reason, but again, it does hurt. Again, another reason you're never, ever going to take this build solo. However, I still think you can maintain a decent build here, and let me show you why by pointing out the stuff that you get for free. So first off, they give you a spell-like ability called Laughing Touch. It's a melee touch version, if you will, of Hideous Laughter. The difference being here is there is no save. Also, the difference being here is that you can only use it on one person once a day, literally in a 24-hour period, and sadly, it only lasts for 1 round. Worse yet, it takes your entire combat round to activate this spell. You activate it quickly, but you do not get to attack like you were casting a normal spell. So, is that garbage? Originally, I thought so. With a full team on your side, there's no reason that this is not useful. Even if it's just to say, you know what, I'm guaranteeing that if I can touch this guy on the shoulder and he's not immune to the mind effect of whatever we're talking about here, then chances are he really is going to be incapacitated for one entire round. Not helpless, just won't attack. He'll defend himself and all that jazz, but by and large he's not doing anything other than possibly moving. So again, kind of weird, situationally useful, but at least it's not garbage. Of course, we talked about our +2 to our compulsion sub-school. Now, just so we're clear on this, because the Infernal Bloodline had this as well, but not for the compulsion, they had it for the charm sub-school. And then, of course, as we found out, all the charm spells don't exist in this game. So, it didn't do them any good. For us, it actually does do us some good, because every spell that is an enchantment that has a DC check, that I can tell anyway, has the compulsion as the descriptor in it. So, you know you're getting the +2 bump with your enchantments that you're picking. They also give us, because we're Fey, I guess we're in tune with nature. I don't care. We don't have wisdom. Why would you invest in that? That just seems like an obvious don't bother. I put a point in it just because it had the class skill green check mark, so what the hell. But when I show you the skills, I'll tell you how I would have actually taken many of those skills back and put them in somewhere useful. For other stuff that we get, or should get, we get Woodland Stride, supposedly. Now, I haven't seen it go off. It's not on our character. We don't see it here in any kind of buff. And I don't seem to be immune to anything. Now, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe we're just naturally immune and it's there. But without seeing it on our character as a buff permanently, I'm thinking this is broken. Now, I may be wrong. You look at the D&D pen and paper version of this type of stuff, Woodland Stride doesn't work on magical enchantments. So things like Entangle, which they give us at the same level, is a spell. It's an amazing spell. We're not immune to it at all because of this. Again, is this broken? Or is it behaving like it should? Because again, in pen and paper, this is a magical impediment, and as it's a magical impediment, this will not protect you from it. So then what the hell is this for then? I don't know. And again, if you guys know more, post down below, but I think it might be busted. Having said that, other stuff that gives for free is at level 9, you get Fleeting Glance. It's a toggle for greater invisibility. Basically, it's just greater invisibility that you can shut off and turn on at a moment's notice. Now, is this useful? Hell yes. It means that I don't have to get greater invisibility, or I don't have to get it quite as quick in the build, which of course was the way we went. I did pick it up because again, it's still an amazing spell. But this guy, you literally can turn on, open the doors, run in invisible, decide what to do, fight the bad guys, and when the fight's over, it has enough wherewithal to shut itself off. You don't even have to click it again. So it just says, oh, the fight's over. Okay, let's shut this off because there's no real reason to be invisible at that point. So it really does save on the rounds per day you get to use it. Equal to, by the way, the class level. So literally for level 20, which we are, I get 20 rounds per day of use. Extremely useful. From there, they also give us level 15, something particularly interesting, something that I don't normally tout as being useful. And it is, Fey Magic in this case is a +2 to spell penetration. It stacks with spell penetration and greater spell penetration, so if you get those feats, which we did, then you get a +2 for each of those. So I have actually, by the end of this build, a +6 to my spell pen, something I don't normally do. Why did I do this? Because our spells really do need to hit. So the enchantments and the illusions, and of course all the other ones as well, I really do need to make sure they land, because we're not going to be much of a fighter, as you'll see. We can do a good job, just not as good as some of the other builds that we're talking about. Mostly because our dex is kind of lackluster, plus we're not going to be using the best armor, and then of course the feat picks is kind of limiting because I had 2 different schools to focus on, illusion and enchantment, and then of course you throw in the 2 spell pen. That took up 6 feats out of a total of 13, 10 up here, because we went gnome not human, so we don't get an extra one, and then these 3 down here, so a total of 13. I've used up 6 just on spell stuff. That's a biggie. From there, of course, the level 20 upgrade, if you will, immunity to poison, which is a little odd. I'm happy to get it, but we don't have any protection from poison up till this point, so just to slap it on us is kind of cool, I guess. And then of course we also get DR10, penetrated by cold iron. We became more like the Fae as a result, is what they're basically telling you here. And again, cool. And while you may think, you know, not many guys are going to have cold iron in the game, especially late in the game, I can totally see that. And again, chances are you'll be protected, but let me give you one more. You're going to get that stone skin spell earlier, right? That's DR10/adamantine. And while they may have an adamantine magic weapon or a cold iron magic weapon, there is no way to have a cold iron/adamantine weapon in one hand. It's either one or the other. So if you cast that spell and have this buff on you besides, we're pretty much guaranteed to have, against physical damage anyway, DR10 on this build. Kind of nice. From there, they give us this Cloak of Dreams, another enchantment. Spell-like ability, again, we can pick that at level 19 as an actual spell at level 6. And it behaves, I'm assuming, as normal. And the reason I say that is because this Cloak of Dreams has a buff to it. Unlike the Cloak of Dreams spell, the DC check for this guy is actually 4 points higher than it should be. I don't know why. I'll show it to you. It's actually awesome. Don't tell nobody. I shouldn't be telling you now because you're going to ruin it for me by telling the devs and then they'll fix it. But could be that they're doing this because, again, it is the tier 20 ability, and why not give you something worth a damn. Again, maybe that's the rationale here. But I do get all the buffs for enchantment from here. The spell focus and greater spell focus. The toggle we can turn on, by the way, is something else worth mentioning. Everyone gets this as a true magus. But just to remind you, normally we leave it on the +2 to attack. Well, we have a +2 to the spell DCs. That's all your spells. And that stacks with all the stuff we got for enchantment, which means a +4 now becomes a +6. For the illusion, the +3 becomes a +5. And every other spell is going to have a +2 to its DC. That's pretty cool. And if that's not enough for you, then you can switch the toggle off and turn it on for spell penetration. Jack up your spell pen that was at a +2 here, +4 once we get spell pen, and then +6 once we had greater spell pen. Now it can be actually +8 if you turn that toggle on in the other one. So again, really, really interesting spell casting type of build here. So again, I take 6 feats out of 13. That leaves me 7. You know, since we're a dex-based character, I'm going to have to get weapon finesse, because even if I don't want to do anything but shoot a bow, I'm still going to get weapon finesse, so that at early levels we have the potential to actually swing a weapon. And you are a magus. You're supposed to swing a weapon, so weapon finesse makes sense. I even went so far as to get Piranha Strike. Again, helps out for damage. Penalty, got it a little late, level 5. I could have gotten it 3, but I justified that point-blank shot is more useful. But the point is from 13, losing 6 down to 7, then we're down to 6, now we're down to 5. What can I do with 5 more feats? Well, I can do quite a bit with 5 feats for fighting. We can do, our slashing grace, fencing grace, all that fun jazz, make sure that our dexterity damage gets converted into damage for our melee weapon. I did not do that. Why? I dusted off my old point-blank master build. 5 feats is exactly what you, well, actually you only need 4, but I'll walk you through it. We have point-blank shot, precise shot, which you do not need, but why take a -4 penalty? The whole point of having point-blank master ray is to shoot them at point-blank range. That means they're in melee. You would take a -4 penalty if you don't take precise shot. You don't need it, but why wouldn't you take it? So we have, again, point-blank shot, precise shot. We pick up weapon focus ray. We get weapon specialization ray at 11, and the same at level 11 for point-blank mastery, which is as soon as we can pick it up. From this point on, we focus nothing but spell stuff. Notice that we did have one possibility we could pick up a little earlier. Remember, these ones you can't pick up earlier. You have to be a fighter, which is level 10 here, before you can even get this one. So this is the soonest I can get this, and then therefore this is the soonest I can pick this one up. So that, again, gave us a feat that we could just slap or whatever we want. So of course I grabbed Spell Focus Enchantment. Why here at level 5? That's your first enchantment that they give you. Not counting, of course, the cantrip days, but I'm not counting that shit. But it is there. But this one here then would get another buff. Remember, even if we didn't get Spell Focus Enchantment, again, because you can move Illusion in here if you so choose, by this point we will actually have, more likely than not, our first Illusion spell, which is a level 1 spell, and it's pretty badass. But this one we have a +2 to, why not make it a +3 was my logic. And then, of course, another enchantment's coming down the road here real quick, so I figured, yeah, I definitely want it to be +3. Eventually it'll be +4, as you'll see. But here is our Spell Focus Enchantment. 13, we get Spell Focus Illusion, just to catch it up a little bit. Remember, we're still behind the curve because this is a +3. This one will now be a +2. One from this and one from being a gnome. And then, of course, we go Spell Pen at the same time that Fade Magic shows up with its Spell Pen. So we have a +4 immediately for our Spell Penetration at level 15. And then when we get doubles here, I decided, well, let's do Greater Spell Focus for both of them, get them out of the way. By the way, when you pick one of these, know that the other one's still on the list. You have to scroll to the bottom of the list because it actually gives it a thumbs down because you already picked up Greater Spell Focus for whatever, in this case Illusion. So it's saying, oh, you probably don't want this. Bullshit, you don't. Get your ass down there and grab that Greater Spell Focus Enchantment. So look for it in the thumbs down category. But point is, you got these now at this point, and that's a +4 again to your enchantments, +3 to your illusions, and only going up from there. Also know that we're going to pump that charisma. That helps with your DC checks. So again, this is a DC based build. Then at the end I decided, well, let's grab that that greater spell penetration, get it up to a +6 now. Again, do you need all that? No. Do I want it? Hell yeah I do. I never do a spell pen build, so it sounded like fun. So that's why we did what we did. Now let's actually look at the spells to show you what I did and well, at what point I grabbed them. You're still going to get your typical. You're getting your melee touch attack, you're getting your buffs, your armor, and whatnot. So Shocking Grasp, Shield, Magic Missile for obvious reasons. Entangle, they give us for free. Amazing spell. If we were immune to it, it'd be better, but it's not. We are not, and our team is not, so be careful with this shit. Entangle's an amazing debuff. I never really realized how awesome Entangle is until I started to pay attention to it. This thing, especially since we get it at level 3, huge area of effect, 40-foot burst. This is amazingly large and annoying, but it's long range, so you can kind of get out of the range of it at least. No spell resistance, so we don't have to worry about that early on. There's a reflex save, which is annoying to be sure, but watch this. If they fail their save, or we fail our save if we're in it, then you take a -2 to your swing by default because you're entangled, and a -4 to your dexterity since we're a dex-based character, and of course this would of course imply for ranged characters too because they're using dex for their ranged attacks. They're taking an even bigger hit to their swing, so I'm taking a hit twice, -2 as well as a -4 from my dex, meaning that I have -2 more slapped onto me for my swing, whether it's ranged or melee for my build. Then my reflexes go down, which means if you stay in this, and again you continue to fail your reflex save, which it's going to be a continuing thing where now I'm just less dexterity, and therefore my reflex save is even worse. So the chances that I suddenly make it is probably very slim. I have to make a concentration check if I want to cast spells while entangled, so this works great on caster types, including me, which sucks, but great for our enemies. Then from there, you slow down by like half your speed. So you literally move a lot slower through the area. Your combat is not affected in any other real way. Of course, your armor goes down, assuming you were relying on dexterity to give you armor, because you have a -4 to your dex, right? So again, there's all kinds of stuff this penalizes, and it's an amazing spell, lasts for a good long while. Color Spray is the first illusion spell we can pick up at level 1. Now, is it amazing? No. Is it good? Yes. Here's why. Info this little bastard, and you'll see that while there's hit dice associated with it, which is usually a no-no for you, it's a 5 or more hit dice will do this. So even at the upper levels 20 stuff, if we're still using this, if it lands, we will still stun them. Doesn't matter if they have 5 hit dice, if they have 500 hit dice, we'll still stun them. Now of course they can be immune, spell resistance could be a thing, but we have really good spell pen. If they're sightless, of course they're completely immune, so that just sucks in general. But again, by and large, you will like Color Spray, and again, as a gnome, you get a bonus to this illusion spell. Reduced Person made sense for me because we're a dex-based character. Notice, again, we don't get Expeditious Retreat. Why? Well, you're a ray caster. You did want at least 1 ray at each level if you could muster it, right? So here's Snowball. Could I be convinced to get rid of Snowball? No. It's a great spell, and again, you want it. If I were to get rid of anything, quite frankly, it'd probably be Reduced Person, and I still can't justify that because it's such a great spell for us. So again, I like what we picked. You can change up as you need. But we also have level 2, Frigid Touch and Blur, obvious. They give us Hideous Laughter. This shows up again at level 5. Amazing spell, first enchantment you get from them. And at this point, because you picked the feats in the way I picked them, you'll have a +3 to the DC check. And your charisma steadily going up and up and up. So already you're at a 20 for your charisma. That's a +5 to that DC. Again, your DC checks, just so we're clear, is base 10 plus the spell level plus your casting bonus, which in our case is charisma bonus. Then any buffs that we have, like spell focus, greater spell focus, or our Fay background, so we get a +2 +1 from the spell focus already. That's our +3. So I already have a 10 plus a level 2 is 12 plus my charisma, which at this point would be +5 at this point, so that's 17, and then +3 more for all my enchantment stuff, putting it at a solid 20 for the DC check for a level 2 spell. It's pretty damn good early on, and again, we'll take out a target. Now note, this will not make them helpless. More on that when we actually queue this stuff up and I show you how the spells work. But that's going to be a very important distinguishing factor here. It's great for locking down a guy, but by and large you just ignore him when they start laughing and go beat up on someone else or cast the spell next round on someone else. That's fine, but the point is that's going to be a thing. Also, doesn't work on everybody. Notice they have to be smart enough to get the joke. So obviously animals, critters, probably undead, and constructs aren't going to be affected by a lot of our stuff. And again, that's going to be a theme, which is another reason I went Raycaster. Well, I'm like, well, what can we do to make sure that our other spells land? Well, I'm not going to do spell focus into something else. We already invested way more than I normally do on illusion and enchantment and spell pen. So that's why we went Raycaster, because in many cases, no save. And again, spell resistance, I don't worry about that. I have spell pen, greater spell pen, a +2 to that as well, and a toggle besides, so I don't worry about that as much now. But these are going to be really, really good spells for us. Scorching Ray, Mirror Image, Acid Arrow, obvious. Litter Dust, could be convinced to take Web in its place. However, later on, we're going to pick up a really nice web spell anyway called Phantasmal Web. Doesn't mean you don't want web. We already have Entangle is another reason why I didn't care. It's more of the same, really. It's just a slightly different variant of the spell, in my opinion. But again, web is a definitely good pick. We don't have any blind fight, though, in this build, so I thought, even if they make the check, because this is a conjuration spell, even if they make the save, the actual coating of them makes them visible. Doesn't matter if they make the save or not. So I at least help myself see the invisible targets. And no spell resistance at this early level, you gotta like that. Since Vitals is a free pick, we'll talk about those in one passing, so I'm just going to skip by them for now. Vampire Touch and Displacement for obvious reasons. Deep Slumbers is the next enchantment they give you for free, and the only one they're going to really give you for free. Amazing spell, teammate friendly, so you can cast it at your feet and not having to worry about affecting you, your team, your pets. Sleep spell, obviously the souped up version of it. You will outlevel it eventually, more likely than not, but while you have enchantment buffs on it, +3 already at this level, you might as well enjoy it. So you will have some fun. And sleep spells make the target helpless if they're asleep. That's important. More on that later. Stinking Cloud was kind of a judgment call over Fireball so early. Why? Because you don't have any poison resistance, remember. But you are on a team also, remember. So there's probably someone that has delay poison, or God forbid, communal delay poison, so we can just buff everyone once and forget about it. If that's the case, then you can use this liberally. Otherwise, be real careful with this shit. It does help you. You nauseate those guys. And again, once we get our fleeting glance where we can go invisible, walk into a room, set up the Stinking Cloud on where the casters are at, and just nerf those little jackasses before the fight even starts, then marshal in the team, this is going to be an amazing combo for you. Just make sure to stay out of the cloud and shoot into the cloud, taking out the bad guys that way. That works fine. Fireball then makes its appearance for some AoE love. Haste and Slow, obvious. Again, the free pick we'll talk about later. Dimension Door, and look at something different for a change, your other illusion spell. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Phantasmal Killer is the only other illusion spell we can get as we level up that has a DC check, not counting this stuff at level 19. It's a great spell. The soonest we can get this is level 10. So I figured, let's grab it. We don't have any real buffs to it besides being a gnome. We get a +1, and of course our charisma is pretty high, and of course you are investing in charisma gear, aren't you? Why wouldn't you? You're a charisma caster. You really, really should be pushing charisma gear on this character. So I figured you probably got at least something to buff it just a tiniest bit more. Again, just a little bit. Another quick note on here, though, you'll see this with another illusion spell coming up too. But this has a fear spell descriptor. You see that down there by mind affecting? Fear is a category that if you have some enchanted gear out there that literally says +1 to all your enchantment DC checks, +2 to all your illusion checks, +1 to all your fear checks, this is a fear spell. So a +1 to fear checks or greater would be applicable to this spell. That's going to be awesome. And we have another fear spell coming up that's another illusion to buff it as well. That's going to be really, really nice. Great thing about this spell, while there's 2 saves, remember your DC check is the same for both saves. It's a will and a fortitude. The will's to believe it. The fortitude is to keep from having a heart attack. If they have that heart attack, if they fail the will, then they fail the fortitude save. They have the heart attack and they die. If they fail the will and pass the fortitude check, at least they take damage. That's another reason I like this spell. So as long as they fail the will, we're doing okay, because at least something happened. It's not great, but at least it's something. And again, if it's a will check that's really, really hard to hit, then chances are the fortitude check is going to be just as hard. We probably have a pretty good shot at landing that. Lots of stuff is dying with this spell. Amazing spell. Poison is one they give us free. Starting to like this a little bit more. It's not amazing, but the downside of this one is the fact that literally the guys you'd probably want to use it on have a high constitution score, and as such, they're going to have a high fortitude save, and it's a fortitude save to ignore it. As soon as they make a fortitude save, the spell wears off. That could be in the first round or 6 rounds later, or it just wears off naturally because it takes 6 rounds for the poison to finally get through their system. But each time they fail, they take 1 to 3 constitution damage. Because it's a range, that technically means that you could maximize this to make sure it's 3 each time. You could probably even empower and maximize it, make it 3 going up to 4.5. They'd probably round that down for you, making it a 4. But still, that's guaranteed 4 points of con damage every time they fail this save. Now, of course, there's the melee touch attack to make sure it lands. You can crit on that. I have no idea what a crit would do. Probably nothing, quite frankly. But if it crits and doubles the constitution damage, hey, that's awesome. I don't particularly care, because again, I'm not likely to use it, but it is there, and it's a free spell they gave us, so, I'll use it, but not as much as they think. Dragon's Breath now finally, of course, makes its appearance. Can swap those out, but again, I figured why not grab it sooner than later. And again, Dragon's Breath, as you know, is amazing. Stone Skin, that's that DR10/Adamantine I was talking about earlier. Again, you're going to get this spell. Make sure in the package of Diamond Dust, you're going to need it. But buff yourself up with this at level 20, and this is probably the soonest, sad as it is to say, at level 20 that I feel like any kind of tank with this build. It's a good build, it's a solid build, it's not a great build for tanking stuff. Just be aware of that. But you can get buffs from other teammates too. Greater Invis, we pushed this back quite a bit. Still managed to pull it out before Controlled Fireball, but there's reasons for that. But I figured we definitely want a Greater Invis. Even with Fleeting Glance, it's going to burn up those rounds very quickly. So having it on tap is a good spell pick still. Controlled Fireball for obvious reasons. You are on a team, why not have some team support? And again, a higher spell DC than the Fireball spell because it's a level 4 casting versus a level 3 casting. From there, and notice by the way, for level 4 we did not pick up any free spell picks. That's kind of weird, but we'll talk about that of course later too. Acidic Spray and Cone of Cold. The most damage out of these 3 spells, potentially speaking, if they fail that reflex save anyway. So Acidic Spray obviously wins. I do Cone of Cold before Fire Snake simply because it's easier for me to line up the cone than it is for me to shoot a beam. And I already have a beam spell. It's not that Fire Snake's bad, we're going to get it, but this one's teammate friendly too, so that's at least helpful. But by and large, I still like the cone, and then if it's not the cone and I'm shooting down a hallway, it's probably going to be Acidic Spray because I know it does more damage. They give us this spell for free, Vine Trap. Another druidic spell. We get a lot of druid stuff. Vine Trap is actually pretty baller. This thing has 2 saves, and while it doesn't really say that per se, it's in the text if you pay attention as we do this. So first off, you roll, you target someone, assuming spell resistance is not an issue or somehow random immunity to it straight out of the gate, they will be rolling for reflex. If they pass, they are still entangled. You understand that? So even passing the reflex save, they're entangled. That means that they take a -2 to their swing, -4 to their dex. Same thing that you saw for the entangled spell, but instead of it being AoE, it's single target. Notice the range on this is long, which is really nice for us. Also, they have every round after that first one, they will continue to trek for reflex save. Again, at penalty, thanks to their being entangled. So, reflex save until they pass the second one or beyond. They're affected by the spell, taking minor amounts of damage. If they fail the first save, the reflex save, they are actually paralyzed and entangled. So the entangled, I don't care, but the paralyzed is highly important. Paralyzed targets, much like sleeping targets, are someone that's sensitive to things like coup de grace. So that really is important. That falls under the helpless category. Amazing spell for you then. The fact that they can make the save and there still has an effect being entangled. Now, could they make the reflex save round 1 and then make the reflex save right again at round 2 and then the spell's over? Yes, that sucks. Notice they can also fail the reflex save, be paralyzed in the first round, and on the second round, by pure luck, pass the reflex save. Again, the spell wears off. They don't have to save twice to get out of the spell. It's just there are 2 saves guaranteed. One at the very beginning, where they're paralyzed or not, but they're still entangled. And then every round thereafter, they will do reflex save, reflex save, reflex save until they pass where the spell wears off. And as soon as they pass that second round or later save, then the spell is basically off them. Okay? Doesn't matter if they're paralyzed and entangled or just entangled. They make the save at round 2 or later, poof, it's gone. The okay things. It does minor damage, which means, of course, maximize and empowered, still viable options here. Don't particularly care because it's only 8 points of damage. But note that it's also cold iron damage for purposes of penetrating damage reduction. So works on the Fay, which is kind of makes sense that we have spells that would affect our own bloodline, because who else would know better how to target themselves than themselves? So that's my logic for that. But an amazing spell, and again, it's why you notice that I don't have spells like Hold Monster or Constricting Coils, which is better, or Hold Person, which is the lower level, which are clearly enchantments, and we'd have a buff for, because this is a conjuration spell. However, it seemed silly to grab more of the same. A paralysis versus another paralysis. Yes, I'd have a better buff on it, a higher enchantment, +4 to the DC check on it, so there is that. But I'm like, I still can't be justified compared to what I am picking. But we'll talk about that again in a minute. Notice we get Cloud Kill, of course, obvious. Again, be careful. You have no poison reduction or resistance or fortitude save bonuses. Make sure someone buffs you with delayed poison. Baleful Polymorph. I just wanted something different, quite frankly, and it's a transmutation spell. And again, 3 spells that you see that I picked from level 5, that level 19. 2 illusions and 1 enchantment, and a really good one at that. But more on that again later. Level 6, Sirocco, Hellfire Ray. You are a beam caster, remember. This is the best beam of those 3 at level 6 in my opinion. We don't have any real buff for Hellfire Ray or Disintegrate or Umbral Strike. However, Hellfire Ray potentially can do more damage. And because there's 3 separate beams, if I'm sneak attacking, which you know I'm going to do, then I'm going to get 3 potential sneak attack hits for each of those beams in one combat round. So that's not just 15d6 per beam, that's now technically 20d6 per beam because of the sneak attack potential. And that's way better than 40d6 plus 5d6 from a solid hit on Disintegrate, or a 20d6 plus 5d6 from a solid hit from Umbral Strike. So it's not to say Umbral Strike's not bad, or is bad, or that Disintegrate's bad, but we have no real transmutation or necromancy or cold or fire in this case, or evocation buff in any way, shape, or form. So I just figured I'd pick with what did the most damage. From there, they give us greater dispel magic. This seems buggy, and maybe I'm just doing it wrong, or just don't realize what you can and can't dispel. But I can't seem to dispel things like Sirocco. I can't seem to dispel my own Entangle spell, and that seems wrong somehow. I don't know why that is. If anyone can tell me, explain to me. There's 2 choices, of course. Point, which means you pick a target, or an area of effect, which is the one I've been using, because you can't pick the target of Sirocco. There is no target, so you have to do AoE. And again, it doesn't do shit. I don't know why. It doesn't even say that I'm trying to dispel it. It says you cast the spell. That's it. And I know it works, because if you cast it on yourself, you can strip off your own shield spell, so I know at least that part works. So something's weird here. I'm not sure what it is. Transformation, amazing spell, as you know. You'll notice I didn't get Dragonkind 1. Why? My logic on this, just following on, you can pick it, take it instead of True Seeing. However, my logic was this: you are never the tank, ever, ever, ever in this build. There's always a tank. You're going to be the guy that's either adjacent to the tank or behind the tank. And to be the giant-ass dragon cowering behind the tank that's wearing full plate mail and a tower shield seems dumb. So I'm like, And quite frankly, Dragonkind would not be the worst idea, because remember, you're going to lose your armor anyway. Well, while we have armor, we're not going to be relying heavily on it. We're going to have high dexterity, right? So this is actually someone that probably really should go Dragonkind. But again, since I know you're never going to be the tank, it seems silly. I'm not going that way. True Seeing, on the other hand, since again we don't have blind fight, I can use it on me, I can use it on my team. It seemed like a good idea. Chain Lightning is the last pick, and again, Acid Fog is in there, the other 2 ray spells are in there. There's a lot of good stuff at level 6 that we have access to. I didn't do Acid Fog specifically because, again, I don't have any inherent acid resistance. Now on that, again, for that Enchantress build, another reason to love Tiefling is they also get, besides the enchantment bonus, +1 to the DC for other enchantment spells if you pick the right one, they also get a free spell, Sound Burst. I think they get a dexterity and a charisma bonus, which is why Tiefling made sense for this type of build. But they get a penalty to intelligence. But they also get fiendish resistances for all Tieflings. They get that damage reduction 5 for acid, cold, and electric, I want to say. And while that's not amazing, at least it does help, especially since this build doesn't get anything until 20. So If they were the build, if I went Tiefling for whatever reason, I wouldn't mind picking up Acid Fog. It wouldn't be perfect protection, but at least it'd be some protection. And again, Acid Fog is pretty powerful, but Chain Lightning would still work for me. And again, I wanted another AoE move besides Sirocco. And then something that's teammate friendly, I'm cool with that. Now let's look at our free picks from low to high. First, a quick note. At level 1, we have a Ray Spell. 2 Ray Spells. 3, I will pick up a Ray Spell. Nothing for 4 or 5. That doesn't mean there wasn't a Ray Spell in there. At level 4, you could have grabbed, I think, Innervation. I didn't pick it because we just didn't have the room. Amazing spell, and it's a Ray Spell, but we didn't get it. So 4 and 5 are kind of dead zones for us, but 6, again, we have 1. Could have had 2 more, technically 3 more, because in the free picks, we could have picked up the Elemental Assessor Ray Spell. So that's another one that we could have had. But again, we already have 1 at this level. Do I really need 3 or 4? It seems silly. But again, if you want to, do what you do. Level 1, though, something else to point out from 1 to 6. Watch this. I have an Illusion Spell. I have an Enchantment Spell. I have an Enchantment Spell. I have an Illusion Spell. Then I have all my free picks because there was nothing here up until this point. So 5 was dead zone. That's why I wanted to make sure to at least get something here. And 6, again, was also a dead zone, hence another reason to get at least something here. Now, again, could I have grabbed an enchantment instead of illusion? Yes. Let's actually talk about what was available. First off, low-level stuff. Hypnotism is available. It's an enchantment instead of an illusion, which is weird to me, but it is an enchantment. You out-level it, there's no point in grabbing it. However, its big brother, which is an illusion spell called Rainbow Pattern, is a level 4 pick, if I'm not mistaken, and it's badass. It's 24 hit dice max that you affect, teammate friendly, big hog and AoE, boom, and they're just stunned. It's an amazing spell. Couldn't justify it because, again, I already had a spell here that covers my illusion need, in my opinion, and these other ones were just too good to pass up, again, in my opinion. But Rainbow Pattern is an option. Other spells that are available at 4, 5, and 6 that we didn't get are things like Cloak of Dreams, amazing spell, as you'll see, because it was free, has a spell-like ability. That's level 6 enchantment. We didn't get Serenity at level 6, and again, I'll tell you why when we get to level 6 stuff. But Serenity was also an enchantment. Level 4, 5, we also had stuff like your Hold Person, Hold Monster, Constricting Coils was in there, Feeble Mind we didn't take, a lot of really good stuff. Overwhelming Grief we didn't take, Single Target Spell, AoE non-teammate friendly spell, which is kind of a no-no, but it's decent, is the Crushing Despair spell, amazing spell, didn't take it either. So we're passing on quite a few enchantments here, and again, you may wonder why. It's not that we're so much better in enchantments than illusion. Remember, only a +1 more DC. And again, I wholeheartedly believe we'll find a gear that buffs our illusion spells and our fear spells. So again, remember, this is a fear spell. Notice that at level 6, this is also an illusion and fear spell. So again, I don't mind grabbing it instead of Serenity. Now why? Serenity, for those of you that don't know, is a level 6 spell, AoE, teammate friendly, same just like this one. They have a will save, and if they fail it just once, then they will literally take 3d6 of damage for every combat round that they're attacking something. So it doesn't matter if they're attacking you, your friends, your pets. If they're attacking, they just take damage because of the overwhelming grief of whatever. It's a very weird spell. Again, free damage. Who doesn't love this, Brothermutant? And again, it lasts for 1 round per caster level. So if they fail their save, so it's a save or suck spell, they fail their save, then for 20 rounds you're guaranteed to do 3d6 of damage each round to those guys just from that spell alone. Why don't you want this? Well, are you really going to fight someone for 20 rounds? Yes, it looks great on paper, and I don't mind the damage, don't get me wrong, but all it does is damage. I have damage spells. Hell, I'd rather upload them front damage instead of 3d6. Here's one here that can do 20d6. Boom, now. And I could spam that a couple times and kill the son of a bitches. Why would I want something that only does 3d6? Yes, it's an enchantment, so okay, I understand. I have a +4 to the DC check. I don't have any pluses to this one. Again, granted. But I have a +3 to this one. So now then the question is, what does Phantasmal Putrefaction do? AoE spell, teammate friendly spell, be in the circle when you cast it. 1 round per level effect, fear spell besides, and there is spell resistance, but we're not really worried about that. We got a +6 to our spell pen. We're doing pretty good for ourselves, I think. The neat part is the very first save they do is a will save. Round 1. If they fail it, then they believe the spell and they take an instant wisdom penalty. 1 to 4 points, which of course, because it's a roll, means that you can maximize it and or empower it, which means if I really do both, let's say I got meta maximize rods of empower and maximize sitting there in my belt, activate both, cast this spell. If they fail their save, they just took 6 points of wisdom damage. That's a -3 to their will saves, right? That's pretty good, just saying. Then round 2, every round after that, they continue to try to disbelieve it, so they will do it round 2, a will save again. If they pass it, then the spell's over for them. They disbelieve the effect, right? Then if they fail it though, in that same round they will do a fortitude save. Now watch this. The fortitude save is the shock of them seeing their guts flowing onto the ground. So because of that shock, if they fail the fortitude save, they basically faint. They pass out. Basically the equivalent of sleep. However, and this is important, it is not a magical sleep effect. Why is that important? Elves are immune to magical sleep spells. This is not a sleep spell. This is a passing out because they're freaking the fuck out spell. But it behaves like sleep, which means they're helpless. Again, that's to your benefit, and of course your team's as well. So that's awesome. Watch further. Just like the spell continues to affect them, right? Every round, if you wake them up, they're still under the effect of the spell. They'll make another will save to try to avoid the spell, try to prove to themselves that it's all an illusion. If they fail that again, then they make the fortitude save again and go right the hell fucking back to sleeping. Awesome spell. Really good for taking out a big group. And again, kill the guys that are not sleeping, and then everyone else that is sleeping, we'll go over and finish them off coup de grace style, and I'll show you that in a bit. That's for level 6. Now look at level 5, because we picked up a bunch here. The other 3 that we took, so that's 1. We had 2 picked in Sense Vitals. I don't have to explain that one. And of course, Battering Blast. Again, I don't have to explain that one. It's a raise spell, a good one at level 3, and 4 hits at 5d6 and sneak attack damage potential for all of them. That's 10d6 times 4 for one target. So that's 40d6 as a level 3 spell. That's the equivalent, by the way, of the damage you could have done from Disintegrate as a level 6 casting, and they have a saving throw for that to resist the damage. There's no saving throw for this one to resist damage. The saving throw is to prevent being knocked down. So there's potential here then again to be even to or better than, in my opinion, Disintegrate. That's an amazing spell. Level 4, we didn't pick up anything. Again, there were choices, we just didn't do it. And again, I really wanted Rainbow Pattern, guys. So it's not that I didn't want these things. We had to make sacrifices. I have picked Shadow Evocation. Now this is probably a judgment call on you. If you don't feel it, you have all these spells, or could have had all these spells by and large anyway. Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Shout. You notice I actually don't have all these spells. Well, I actually have Fireball in this list. That's all I actually have. I didn't pick up Ice Storm, I don't have Volcanic Storm, I didn't pick up Shout like I normally do, and I don't have Lightning Bolt. But I have them all with this spell, and I have them at a higher level casting, and it's an illusion, so I get a +3 to the check, +5 if I have my toggle on at level 20. You can see why I wanted this spell. Notice one last thing here though, something that's commonly ignored. Spell resistance, not affected by spell resistance. Not that I care, I'm a +6 spell pin son of a bitch. I'm doing good. But, again, if I'm having difficulty for whatever reason, well, here you go, baby. Here's a chance to hurt them. And by the way, many targets that are immune to your illusion spells and your enchantment spells are not immune to this thing. This thing still hits them. Seems weird, I don't know why, and I'm not going to complain about it, but a lot of guys are like, nope, I'm immune to mind-affecting spells. Notice this doesn't have that descriptor, mind-affecting. Yes, it's an illusion, it's not that kind of an illusion. So, it's just damage, which you gotta love. Yes, there's the will save, and any other save that's applicable. Obviously, reflex for the Fireball and Lightning Bolt, fortitude for the Shouts, but the point's still the same. We get buffs to all those DCs. Amazing spell. You almost can't convince me not to dump this one. I have to take it. Phantasmal Web is kind of a judgment call, but work with me on the logic on this one. Much like Phantasmal Putrefaction, the one that was at level 6. This one, again, AoE, teammate friendly, cast it on your feet, don't worry about being in the circle. Good spell. They will do 2 things. 1, will check. Will check determines whether they believe the spell. If they believe it, they believe they're in a web spell. So Entangle applies. That's the -2 to the swing, -4 to dex, and all the shit that is applied for the Entangle spell that you saw way back at level 1. Amazing debuff for these guys. Teammate friendly, again, amazing spell. Now, they make a fortitude save. If they pass that one, no problem. They're still in the web spell. If they fail that fortitude save, they believe spiders are crawling over them. You'll see a big pea soup green looking halo over their head. That's the nausea setting in from them freaking out from all the spiders on them. So it's the equivalent then of a web spell and stinking cloud, but teammate friendly, all in one little AoE. Well, not one little, one big ass AoE effect. So again, pretty badass spell. A couple little weird things about this one though. Watch this. If they have freedom of movement, whether it's provided to them, they just naturally have it, if someone casts a spell on them, whatever, if they have freedom of movement on them, they already know they should be immune to the web spell. So even if they fail the will save, the web portion will not affect them, which makes sense. But if they fail the will save and of course fail the fortitude save, that doesn't protect them from the nausea, because they still believe the spiders are all over them. So I think that's pretty funny that they've added that part in there. So it's pretty damn cool. Now again, if they pass the will save, the game over, that doesn't matter, the spell doesn't affect them, it's a waste of your time. But again, it's AoE, the chances you get more than one guy in that AoE is pretty big, and if you hit 5 guys and only it lands on 2 of them, that's still 2 guys that you are impeding in some way. Kill the 3 that are not affected, and then mess with the other 2 after the fact. That's the goal here. So you're crowd control / damage dealer, in my opinion, in this build. Again, plenty of other spells out there to pick from. Notice we did get Mind Fog. Again, this is probably a mistake on my part. It's not that Mind Fog's not amazing. Your teammates are idiots. Your character's an idiot when you're not controlling them, so they'll walk into this shit, and you're not friendly with this, because this will mess you up too. Notice some of the fun part of Mind Fog, though, is not only the penalty to wisdom checks, more on that in a second, massive -10 penalty to will saves. That's on most of our spells that we really want to hit them with. So cast Mind Fog if someone's just heavily resistant, they fail their check, and again, will save on this, they fail their check for standing in that cloud, boom, -10 to their checks, hit them with something that's an illusion, like Phantasmal Killer, watch them die. Amazing spell. Notice something else though, after they fail their check, if they leave the cloud, instead of just immediately wearing off, it lingers for 2 to 12 rounds, which can, since it's a roll, means we should be able to maximize this and or empower it, which means you could really screw over some dudes heavy with this spell. Kinda dig it. Back to my point though on wisdom checks, immediately I discounted this as who gives a damn. But then I had to remember what wisdom checks are. Wisdom checks include anything that you get a bonus for having a high wisdom. That includes lore nature, who cares, lore religion, again, who gives a shit, but also perception. So if this is technically then a -10 to their perception roll, that means stealthers on your party are getting a bonus here, right? It's kind of the opposite, but it's the same thing. It's either a penalty to their ability to see you or a bonus to your stealth. This is a penalty to them seeing you. That's definitely worth having. And another reason I kind of dug this spell. Again, not teammate friendly, watch this shit. Your teammates are stupid. But when you really need to land some stuff, that's an amazing combo. Mind Fog, Shadow Evocation, Mind Fog, Phantasm. Remember, this is a will save to begin with. A will save to begin with. A will save to begin with. We have a lot of those. And certainly this isn't the only categories that have will saves, by the way. Just saying for the ones that we are focusing on. I could have picked others. But will save, and again, really want to make sure that at least they take damage. Will save penalty. Nice. And again, there's plenty of ways for us to lower their fortitude. Looking at poison right now. So that the poison will weaken them enough that, again, with the will save penalty and the constitution penalty, you're maybe likely to land that Phantasmal Killer on a heavy hitting boss. And that shit's just funny right there. So now let's actually show you some stuff. So I'm at a spot in the game in Tenabra Steps where I can actually have a little bit of gear. Remember, I'm buffed up a little bit here. Oh, and let me just, of course, quickly show you my skills. I put 1 point in athletics because, whatever, we had a green check mark in it. Nothing in mobility, nothing in stealth, but notice stealth actually does get a buff here. Because AR dexterity, we don't have to be trained in it. We have a penalty because of our armor that we can overcome with other stuff like mithril armor. Our size is +8. Why is it not +4? +4 is normal for gnome. +8 because we actually have reduced person on ourselves. So we actually have a little bit of stealth here without really trying. So I thought to myself, well, you know, I kind of wasted some points, and I'll show you where I did so. If I took those 3 or 5 points back, I could probably slap it into stealth. Again, up to you. But I had, for instance, I took 3 points and put it into trickery. Normally I would not do this. I did this because I know I was going in here alone, and I wanted to be able to pick a few locks to make sure I had some gear. you would be on the team would have a trickery person, so this isn't your forte at all. Take those 3 points back. Put them somewhere. Persuasion's high, perception's high, use magic device has got a decent amount in it. Again, it could use a little love, but I figured we are going to push the charisma through the roof. All of our stats, of course, through the roof. So all these things can go up another 5 points, by the way. Notice that we didn't invest in Lord Religion at all. You don't have any skill check in it, or class skill in it. We do have for Lord Nature, I put a point in it, same with Knowledge Arcana, just because it made sense. Same with Athletics, but you could take 1, 2, 3 points back, because really, who cares? A 4 on Athletics is nothing to write home about. Take it away, take the Knowledge Arcana point back, take the Lord Nature point back, that's 3, and then we had 3 here in Trickery. That's 6 points that you could put into Stealth, and make this a solid 15 right now. Just saying, it's not amazing, but better. Or you could use Magic Device, or get Persuasion to decent levels, because there are only 10 ranks in there right now. So again, what you feel, but Perception, I maxed it out. So again, Knowledge World was the other one. The reason that it got a lot of points, in my opinion, and again, you could dump those points in here too, make it awesome, because why not be an expert of something? I did it because you see racial bonus +2 obsessive. Because we're a gnome, we get another +2 added to this. So we got skill in it, so that's the +3 you're seeing there. You put 1 point in there, class skill goes up 3 points as well, so now 1 becomes 4, then the racial bonus 4 becomes 6. And we have a tiny bit of intelligence, so 6 becomes 7 with just 1 point investment in there. And I'm like, well, that's the highest one of these 3, Arcana, World, and Nature, that we have for just putting 1 point in it. That's why I invested in that one. Again, up to you. It's not necessary for the build, but just to point out that you can fudge it any way you really want. But let's get into actually killing some bad guys, shall we? I have buffed up with my typical shield spell, reduced person, and blur. That doesn't mean that's the only buffs we have, but those are 3 really good staples, and they're level 1 and level 2 spells. Easy to get. I have my toggle on. Notice instead of doing the +2 to my swing, I'm using the +2 to spell DCs to show you how it can really hammer home some solid DC penalties here. So, coming to the room, first here's our fleeting glance. This is my toggle for being greater invisible. It's the same thing as in greater invisibility, it's just a toggle format. Turn it on at a moment's notice. I'm invisible. As you can see, they're not seeing me. We have a were-rat. Let's hit him with something. First, here's Hideous Laughter. I will do Entangle, but later. Single target, because he's the only one I can see right now. Let's hit him with Hideous Laughter, our level 2 free spell that they give us, okay? Notice, if you put it over them and you see the face, you're fine. If you see an X over the picture of the face, that means it will not work on them. Don't bother casting it. It's nice that they've at least added that to some of these spells. Not all of them, but some of them. So we can try this. This is an enchantment. Remember, when you pick it up, you'll have a +3 to the enchantment if you follow my build. Now we're at +4, and of course now +6 with our toggle.
Their life ends here.
That's what this does. He is not helpless, but he's incapacitated until he makes his save. So he's going to do will save, will save, will save, until the cows come home or the spell wears off. As soon as he makes his will save, the spell's done. So he's done for 0 rounds, 1 rounds, 20 rounds, who knows. But that's the point of this spell. Now, there's ways to make sure that he's nerfed so he fails his will saves, like slapping down something like Mind Fog now that he's already crippled himself, because he'll continue to have to take will saves. I could lock him up there for 20 rounds if I want to by slapping Mind Fog on him, because more likely than not he's going to fail that save then too. But that's kind of overkill. But higher level stuff, maybe you can see the appeal there. We got guys clearly coming on us. I'm going to backpedal the tiniest bit. Remember, I don't move fast at all because I'm a gnome person. But let's show you a nice AoE move, not Entangle. I'm going to show you level 1 spell that you picked up called Color Spray. See that? Now notice the big cloud on their head. He's got the little laughing thing and fell his happy ass down. That means he's prone. There's important parts to this I'll show you when we attack. But notice some things. We have helpless characters versus non-helpless. How do I know that? Well, A, I know what the spell does. Also, I know that they failed their saves. But if I didn't want to look in here, see this little coup de grace thing they gave us? Click that little bad boy. Highlight any target. It looks like normal, right? Now highlight him. See the X? He is not helpless. He will defend himself. However, he's still not going to fight until you make him. So, we could coup de grace these guys. Let's do so. Let's do it on the wolf just to show you what it does.
This strike My
Good
masterpiece.
job. Coup de grace is an auto crit move. Yes, guaranteed crit for helpless target. Now, there is a penalty. Watch this. The penalty being this. If there's a bad guy near you that's awake and willing to attack you, while you're coup de grace his friend, you will provoke an attack of opportunity. It's a thing. So take out the guys that aren't incapacitated or helpless. Fight the guys that are still standing. That's a duh moment anyway. But again, if you feel you can tank the attack of opportunity, feel free to go kill these other guys. Maybe you really wanted to kill that guy because he's the wizard, and you never want to get him up off the ground. So feel free to waste on him. That's fine. I'm just saying that know that there will be attack of opportunity potential against you for doing the coup de grace. It also takes you a full round to do it. All detailed here. Notice we swung at this guy, ability coup de grace. You don't see to hit roll, do you? It just guarantees there's going to be a crit. You do auto hit as well then. Now watch this. If I go to my weapons, notice I have a rapier, a typical finessable weapon. Or you could have had a kukri, you could have had any number of things, but these are the two that you would normally pick for a weapon finessable build. Right? So 18 to 20 crit range. That don't matter to us because it's auto crit, so we can ignore that part. Why do I say that? Because it's only the ×2 that really matters. Our damage got multiplied by the crit multiplier. Why is that important? Because you should have something that has a higher crit multiplier for when you do coup de grace. Why not hit them for 3 times the damage, or 4 times the damage, or 5 times? You get the idea. Well, the only ones that I could seem to find that were weapon finessable, that doesn't mean you can't use them, but why not use the weapon finessable ones? Because at least you can use them outside of outside of using it for coup de grace. Star Knives, for instance, have a ×3. There's a couple others that are finessable that have ×3. There is one, though, that also has a ×4 that is weapon finessable. It only crits on a 20, but again, who cares? We got a guaranteed crit potential here. It's called Light Pick. And I happen to know that early in Chapter 1-ish, you can find a Light Pick that's agile. Remember what that does? That takes your dexterity bonus and uses it like it was your strength bonus for purposes of damage. Because it's a weapon finessable. You have to have weapon finesse, of course, which we do, and then of course have a high dexterity, which again we do. So that would be some really nice potential then for you critting ×4 on those guys. So switch weapons and hit him with that. But wait, there's more. Remember these spells that you have? Shocking Grasp, Frigid Touch, Vampiric Touch. You can crit with these through your weapon, right? Well, we can do the same here. I'll show you. But now think about that. This is Shocking Grasp. A guaranteed crit doubles the 5d6 damage, meaning it's basically 10d6. Now, yes, I know they don't roll 10. They still roll 5d6 and roll, multiply it by 2. But the point is it's 10d6 worth of damage, if you want to think of it that way. Which means if we maximized it, instead of doing 30 damage, we could do 60, guaranteed. If we empowered and maximized it, 30 would be 45, critting would be 90. Plus your weapon swing that got critted as well. Tell me that's not appealing to you. Wait, there's more. Remember this spell? Yes, it does less damage. 4d6 means 24 maximum. 36 if we empower and maximize it. And then if we crit it, 36 turns into 72. Still pretty badass, and of course your weapon besides. It's cold damage, so it's not shocking damage, so there's or electric damage, excuse me, so there's a reason for that too. But notice the other part. They get staggered for 1 round. Unless, if it's a crit, they're staggered for 1 minute. Well, we're going to kill them, right? Well, not necessarily. We'd love to. Doesn't mean we're gonna. But if we're not gonna, at least let's stagger him for 1 more minute, I'm thinking. So you can see the appeal here. Wait, there's still more. Remember this spell? What does this one do for you, class? Well, it does 10d6 damage, as you know. Sure, at level 20, that's 10d6 of damage. 60 for maximum. Maximum and empowered, 60 becomes 90. If we turn that into a crit, double damage, 90 becomes 180. But remember, however much damage you do gets added to your hit point bonus for 1 hour, including if it crits. So if we do that maximized power trick and guarantee a crit, which we can do, that means you got 180 hit points added to your character for 1 hour. Tell me you don't like that idea. I'm just saying, I'm not rocking the highest hit points ever. What are we sitting at? 123. I could be at 303 with using nothing more than a meta magic rod for empower, a meta magic, or I don't even need a meta magic one. I could use the lesser meta magic rod because it's a level 3 spell. Lesser meta magic rod empower, lesser meta magic rod for maximize. Have them both on. Incapacitate someone like that where they're helpless. Prove that they're going to be helpless by doing the coup de grace move to prove, pause the game, prove that there's no X on that little icon. Say, okay, this target's helpless. Now how do I do it? Well, let me show you how you're going to do it. Sadly, you can't do it instant. What I mean is, if I did coup de grace like this, he'd walk over, and next round he would coup de grace this dude. Well, I need to buff up the weapon first, so how do we do this? Well, let's do the Vampire Touch, right? So do your spell, click the target, keep your hand on the pause button. It's going to be important. Here's why. Cast your spell. Pause it. Why? Because if we let him walk forward, or her walk forward, she'll attack, and it's not a crit. Why is it not a crit? Because we didn't activate coup de grace. Now, of course, this sets us back another round. So you've buffed your weapon. Vampiric Touch is in there now, waiting to be discharged. You're just waiting to hit with something. Coup de grace now. Take the pause off. Yes, you have to wait again. And then, here it comes. Guaranteed hits. Boom. And that's all his pretty health enemy. Now, yes, I don't have the maximized meta magic blah blah. But again, pretty badass, right? Notice I also get the force bonus, which I didn't know you did this, from the Bane weapon bonus that we have on our weapon. So 2d6 is here. It's also up here. So we got 2d6 twice, which is kind of cool. And again, crit for this one. For our... Actually, it didn't crit. Why did that one not crit? Oh, was he awake? Did he get up? Come on now. Don't make the liar out of me. I did it right. Let's try it one more time. Okay. Boom.
This spell works differently.
Oh, see? He's waking up. He's not helpless anymore.
This spell works differently.
Ah, that's what it was. Okay, so the coup de grace didn't work officially. And I should have known that because he did attack. See that? Boo. I can show you the way to do it, though. Let's show you how you can do it besides using that trick. Remember, that was using color spray. The reason it didn't work, I just have to show it to you in the book. The reason it didn't work is because we took too long to deliver the attack. Notice all the penalties that they get. This many for this many rounds, this many for this many rounds, this many for this many rounds. So it's probably the stunned and the blinded that wore off. And then they were just stunned. And stunned's not enough to be helpless like we think. So that's probably why. This guy's not helpless, though, as we know. Right? But that don't mean we can't have some fun making him helpless. Let's use another spell on him, like Deep Slumber. Okay, now, do we know if he is helpless? He is now, see that? Because he's asleep. Sleep spells do this. That's why sleep spells were always amazing when you did pen and paper. They gave that back to us, thank God, because now this is awesome. Again, I could just coup de grace him, but we want to do our trick. So, do your typical. Buff up with the spell. Pause it. Switch back to coup de grace. Activate the coup de grace.
This wound
Boom.
my
That
gift
worked.
to you.
There's our ×2. That's for our weapon, and of course the force damage because I buffed my weapon ahead of time with the Bane. Then weirdly, unholy damage ×2, which was what we wanted, but weirdly we get again force damage again, and I don't care, and those numbers added, so you'll see I have 70. See what I'm saying? Again, great trick. Make sure they're helpless, of course, because if they wake up in mid-swing and they're not helpless anymore, they will defend and it'll be a normal attack. That's fine. It's nice though when you can fire it off. I'm just saying. Let's actually go back. I've saved just before this room so we can keep repeating the same fight, but with different spells. Okay, let's do our little invisible trick again, right?
One with the shadows.
Alright, so we've done this spell. I just showed you the Deep Slumber spell again. Teammate friendly AoE. You'll out-level its usefulness, but it's an enchantment, so you're going to have a really nice check on it. Which, by the way, let's look at some of those checks there. So where was my... find my deep slumber. Here we go. Will save for deep slumber. It tells you the spell here and the effect. Deep slumber, here was his roll. My DC was 26. Why was it 26? Deep slumber is a level 3 spell. So 10 plus 3, 13. My charisma, casting stat is a plus 7 right now. So 10 plus 3 plus 7 is 20. Why is it 26? Remember, I have a plus 2 enchantment bonus because we're Fay. So that goes to 22. Then I have spell focus and greater spell focus enchantment. That pushes it to 24. Where's the other plus 2 coming from? That's right, class, the plus 2 toggle. That's a solid DC check for such a low level spell. I'm just saying, and since it's AoE too, extremely useful for you. Okay, so this stuff is working. I have checked it. Just wanted to prove it to you. Now, let's show what the Entangle does, and I'll even put myself in it, which is a bad idea. I want to show you some stuff.
Their life ends here.
Notice there's going to be reflex saves across the board. Notice I have a penalty now because I have reflex save failure. Here's what Entangle does. Read all that crap. That's a lot. Again, I've talked about it already. Amazing debuff. Sadly, you're not immune to it, which I thought you were going to be. But notice something else. The second you get out of it, poof, you're out of it. So again, penalty's gone the second you get out. It doesn't linger. Notice how slow they are. If the tank is in here, who cares? As long as it's not a dex-based tank, they can tank and plate armor and tower shield besides and have everyone on top of him or her. And the whole team, yourself included, can stand back at range and start doing stuff like this. Because even if they stop attacking the tank and come out here towards you, they're still moving at a snail's pace. You and your team will have more than enough time to pepper them with arrows, bolts, and whatever else, dropping them like flies. Great tactic, and again, that's given to you at level 3, guys. That's an amazing spell. Yes, it's an annoying spell, but as long as you know how it works, you will love this. And again, extremely friendly for dropping down the bad guys. Now, of course, I don't want to show you these other spells while they're penalized. Remember, they have a -2 to their swing, -4 to their dex, -2 to their armor class, more likely, guaranteed a penalty to the reflex save, which, of course, I could capitalize on that by doing some reflex spells. How about we start lobbing in some fireballs, shall we? Boom. Let's take a look at those reflex saves. Dexterity of 3 for a were-rat. This was the guy that just got out of the thing, so he's back to normal already. Again, as soon as you break from the AoE effect, you're back to normal, so it doesn't linger. But what about the one in the back? See how his dexterity is +1? He's the same thing. He's a were-rat. He's no different. So why is he a +1? The other guy's a +3. The -4 penalty, right? Dexterity bonus is down 2 points because of that. So it's easier to land those reflex saves for me. Now, I can do casting, but remember, the minute I get inside that mess, I have to do concentration checks. We're going to pass it. I'm not worried about it, but why not use your ray spells? Remember, you're a ray caster guy, right? So use them. Right? Easy peasy, pumpkin squeezy. Now, let's go back and do some more. How about I show you that one free spell-like ability they give you here? Make yourself invisible. Go in, find your target, just click this, work it on the guy. It may also have that same icon where it puts the X up if you can't use it on them. I don't know that for a fact, because I haven't been paying attention, quite frankly. But these guys can be affected, so
their life ends
just do the thing. But see how he's laughing? He's not attacking. He can move. So you see that? And for one round, he's not able to do anything other than move and defend himself. That's it. He can't attack directly. He can't cast spells or anything like that, but it's only one round. And now he's immune to that effect for the next 24 hours, which of course means you don't use it on him again. I could do this to everybody here though. Once. Well, not the wolf. Once. Well, actually, I don't know. We should actually try that. Probably shouldn't work. Let's find out though. Yeah, kind of figured. Did I miss? No, I hit him. It just didn't affect him. Again, as you see, didn't do anything to him, which again is fine. I expected as much. Again, it's going to behave a lot like your hideous laughter. They have to have enough of a brain to laugh at your joke. So that's fine. But again, for talking characters and humanoids and things of this nature, decent-ish ability to lock up someone for one round. Sadly, it locks you up. You do not get to attack in the same combat round, even with spell strike and spell combat on. That's fine, just know that, which means you don't use it a lot, eventually becomes useless to you, in my opinion. You probably forget it's even on your tray. Let's look for some other stuff. How about we do... Oh, let's do the Phantasmal Putrefaction level 6 badass one, right? This one, again, is teammate friendly. Look at it. See the little picture? Red guys only. So, normally, I would cast an AoE spell like this, where I'm just outside of the circle. Well, why? It's not going to hurt me. You should probably cast it like this. Again, why? Notice how many guys are rushing me. One's going to be right on top of me. Another guy's going to run around to the side, and who the hell knows where this guy's going to go. If I cast it like this, I may only get 1 or 2 dudes in the area effect. But if I do like this, it still doesn't affect me, and I'm more likely to catch those extra dudes that are going to run around in circles. You can see immediately who failed their first will save because they'll have a minus to their wisdom. A random roll, but still, you'll see a minus something wisdom pop up. So we know that these 2 doofuses got hit. These 2 guys made their saves. And then if I check the combat log on that, I'll see that... where's our... Cast Phantasmal Putrefaction, where rat failing, penalty, failed, penalty, and where's the other guy? And the other guys didn't get hit with it. There's no way they weren't in the AoE effect. I was all the way back to here. That's a little odd. It's not that they're immune. They didn't even make a save. See what I'm saying, though? I mean, if they pass the save, that's fine. But I didn't even see that. So, we'll have to test that again. But again, we can see who got affected. 1, 2 right there. These 2 guys didn't. These guys we're going to leave alone while we mess up these guys. Why? I want to show you the other effect that fires off. The second round, they do another will save, another fortitude save if they fail that will save. That's the one where they believe it wholeheartedly that their guts are puking out onto the ground. And this puts them to quote-unquote sleep. Remember, it's not sleep in that it's magical, but it's sleep in every other regard, which means, guess what? Coup de grace, baby. Get the high. And again, every round, they will keep doing the same types of checks.
The shadows. This strike,
Good
my
boy.
masterpiece.
Gotta love it. Let's do it again. What else do we have? Okay. Then it's Phantasmal Putrefaction. I want to test that one more time, guys, simply because we had a really weird...
Their life ends here.
Effect there. It shouldn't have been that 4 guys didn't get hit. I don't know what that was about. So I'm going to put it square in the center where it's guaranteed that everyone's going to hit. Again, I only got 1 guy this time. Will save, fail. And nothing about the other guys. Why is it only working on 1 or 2 dudes? There's nothing about HD or anything like that. All enemies within the burst. I wonder if they have like displacement on or something, and that's keeping me from hitting them? That's a possibility. It wouldn't necessarily say that. It's kind of weird. I will grant you that.
This
Anyway.
will hurt.
Boom,
You
dead.
should have run.
Boom, you
Strike.
die. Boom, you die. Alright, repeat it. This is a conundrum, guys. I do apologize for this because this was weird. I did not see this earlier. So I want to make sure that I'm not passing on wrong information. One more big chance here to
Their
lock
life
all these
ends
dumbasses
here.
up. Hey,
This
everybody.
will hurt.
How you doing? You guys ready to die from this here spell? There we go. That's 4 of them that got hit this time. So again, it can do it. I don't know why it hasn't been. Again, the only thing that makes sense is that they're clearly shimmering in some way, and therefore I assume displacements on them. It doesn't say why, but clearly they failed their checks that time. Everybody's under the effect. They took the initial wisdom spike. That's just a will save. The next round will be the will fortitude save. Let's just walk away, see if it fires off on them. Boom! Sure did. Holy hell. That was a big crumple of dudes. And again, just to show you that DC check. Big solid 28 with our nice little buff going. That's a really, really nice chance to land that shit. Big AoE can hit more than 1 guy, clearly. And again, if you take your coup de grace, who's helpless, who's helpless, who's helpless, who's helpless, every last one of them. Now, on that, let's hit them with something while they're helpless. That's not a crit power. Use our will bonus here from, our illusion bonus here to make sure this stuff sticks. So we got some reflex saves, Notice how bad their reflexes is. Here's why. Helpless characters don't get any dex bonus. Their dex is considered effectively 0 because they're helpless. It's like if they were paralyzed, falls under the helpless category. They can't dodge. There is no dodging because they're helpless. So -5 because a 0 dex means literally -5 penalty. That's why the reflex bonus is sucking right now. Amazing combos then with you making a helpless target, whether it's with Deep Slumber here, with the initial hit of that color spray, or with the second spike of this putrefaction where they become sleepy. Again, amazing ways to just give somebody horribly. Could I have further guaranteed that the reflexes went down? Probably. I could have slapped the entangle out there. The reflex is already crap, and this would probably just put it in the toilet, I'm guessing. So definite ways to ensure that your saves are going to be enforced. Really nice damage. Let's do something else now. Let's show you the... Let's go invisible and show you the Vine Trap. That's actually quite a cool little spell. Okay? We always know that doofus is there. Here's the Vine Trap that gave it level 5 spell. The paralysis spell. Okay? Now remember, we don't have a bonus on this one. However, we do have a +2 thanks to our toggle, so that's the only bonus we do have because it's a conjuration spell. Notice something though. We hit him with where did it go? Vine Trap. He failed the first saving throw, right? And again, that means he's paralyzed and entangled. Again, I don't have to look in here to prove that. The paralysis is the part I need to know about, right? If he's not paralyzed, he's definitely entangled because it's the first round. That's always a guarantee. Now, if I do coup de grace though, he's not just entangled, because entangled does not make you helpless. Paralysis does. So see, there's no X. He can be coup de grace. Obviously we don't, because we're going to get attack of opportunities left and right on us because of his doofus friends that are still here. We'll leave him alone, watch how long it takes him to make the next reflex save, and we'll check his reflex save. So first, let's watch this. His first reflex save was at a +4. Watch how much lower it is on the next one without us messing with him further. And I love the animation of the vines growing, wrapping around, and they kind of like ensorcel and circle around the guy. Remember, this does minor damage to them too, which is super funny. Now he'll ignore that because he's a were-rat, because it's not silver damage, but not the point. Pretty damn fun. Let's do actually a poison of this ferocious wolf, because why not?
This will hurt. This strike, my masterpiece.
Boom. Poison didn't go off. I activated an attack too soon. But did he make his next save? Let's see. At -2. See that? Remember, he was a what? +4? He's paralyzed. Remember, dex bonuses are out the window. He's at a dex of 0 right now. -5. Amazing penalty right there. And again, almost guarantees that it's just harder and harder and harder for these guys to break out of the shit. Well, not harder and harder, but more difficult for every round after the first one to just screw these guys over. That's pretty sweet. Then I could just leave him there and let him continue to take damage, but of course you're seeing that he's absorbing it. It's piercing damage. He's immune to probably 5 or 10 levels of damage reduction unless it's silver, right? Alchemical silver. He's a were-rat after all. Well, that's fine. Why not just beam him in the face with a nice Hellfire Ray combo? I only got 2 of the beams, but that was enough to finish him off. Okay, what else can we show you? I still have to do Phantasmal Web. That'll be the next one. And of course, we still have to show you the AoE, PB AoE Cloak of Dreams. So let's just not go invisible at all. Let everyone notice that we're here.
Their life
Hey everybody,
ends here.
come back here. Remember, this is similar to Phantasmal Putrefaction in that it's teammate friendly, big hog and AoE. Make sure you're in the circle somewhere. Boom. Gotta love it. Makes an attack. He got an attack of opportunity off on me, you little jackass. Screw you, man. Alright, so again, first save, will save. Nice solid 27 DC, because it's an illusion. Really, really nice for us. All these guys are basically, as far as they're concerned, stuck in a web spell, right? Now, of course, if they had freedom of movement, they could continue to move as normal. Notice the next round is going to be when they're going to do their fortitude save. Now, how do I know if it worked or not? Well, just look at their heads. See the puke aura around them? These guys are nauseous. So this one failed his fortitude, he failed the fortitude, he failed the fortitude. It's possible that the wolf passed this. Let's see if that's true. Yep, ferocious wolf fortitude save and throw succeeded. So they're not they're nauseated, but they are still in the web spell because they failed their will again. So they're still in that. And again, I think next round they may check again. Let's actually see. Oh, there it goes. Got you that time, didn't you, you jackass? Gotta love it. So as long as they continue to fail the will checks, or actually, they're not doing will checks. I take that back. Will check was the first one, then it's fortitude, fortitude. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Cool. So they basically are going to continue to do fortitude checks till the end of the spell, now that they've been impacted by it. So only one will check. That's nice. So basically and that's good because it tells you who succeeded, because they'll be running up to you to try to stab you in the face. Take that guy out, clearly. Leave everyone back here to be all screwed over. Now what does nausea do? Is this a helpless target? X, 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 X. That would be a big hog and no. Doesn't mean you can't have some fun with them though, so let's go stab this one in the face and see if there's any penalties of this doofus. Okay, what's the swing looking like? No real bonus here that I'm seeing, but penalty-wise, I couldn't tell you, except for his dexterity bonus is +1. More likely than not, it's not that low. He is a were-rat. Their chances are they're agile. Why is he probably low? Remember, web spell is an entangle spell, just like all that penalties that you saw from, where did it go? From this guy, the -2 to their chance to hit, the -4 to their dex, the -2 to then to their reflex and to their armor class. All that's applicable while they're in the web. So again, helpful, not killing them, but definitely helpful. And again, while nauseated, these guys aren't doing a whole lot of anything, which is just beautiful for us to set up other stuff. Let's see, is that everything I wanted to cover for those guys? Yes, yes, yes. I don't think I showed you Phantasmal Killer. Let's fire off one of these little bad boys. Okay, so now that's a perfect opportunity to show you that one. So watch this. He took damage but didn't die. How do I know that he made one of his checks? The will save failed because he took damage. That's how I know that. He made the fortitude heart attack save, so he didn't instant die. He just took 3d6 of magic damage, I believe. Yep, 3d6 magic damage. That's because he passed the fortitude save. So even if he just fails the will save, something's still going to happen. But obviously he still has to fail the will save. We had a bonus to the will save DC as well as to the fortitude DC. It's the same DC. It just so happened that he passed the fortitude one. Still did something though, so that's at least helpful. If I did it on someone else, it's entirely possible he'll fail both and die from it. There you go.
You should have run.
So again, amazing spell you get, not early, but level 10. That's definitely in chapter 2. So you will have fun instant killing guys. Don't take the heaviest guy to take out with that. Take out the sneaky little ninja bastards. Why? Because it's a will and fortitude save, and it's an instant kill then for those bastards that have crappy fortitude and will saves. So a nice chance for you to knock out that rogue. From there, we needed to show you one or two other things.
In due time. Interesting.
Let's show you. Okay, we have Mind Fog. This one's visible.
Wonderful shadows. Their life ends here.
They all come through this mess, and remember, if they fail their check, failed, when they leave the cloud, they're still under the effect for at least 2 rounds minimum. Okay, so let them run through it. That's perfectly fine. You stay the hell away. And again, let's do something like Phantasmal Web. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Phantasmal Web. Teammate, friendly. No, let's do the Putrefaction one, because I like making them helpless. Boom. How did those checks go? -10, because the Mind Fog was still on them as they creep through. Now, eventually that'll wear off, but until that time, I have a chance to land really good spells that are going to make them completely sick to their guts and pass the hell out. Coup de grace time, baby. Again, how do I know? No X, no X, no X, no X. You'll have fun with this build, I think. one more here to show you. We have to do the Cloak of Dreams. Now, of course, if you are having a hard time hitting guys with your ray spells, the reason I grabbed Prescient Attack was for obvious reasons. It was late in the build, but I'm like, well, you know, sometimes you just really need to hit that guy. Again, it's a touch attack. That
You
means the
should
armor
run.
isn't going to be a problem. It's still on them. That's just amazing. The armor is not on them. They don't get the bonus of their shield because it's a melee or a ranged touch attack, a ray spell. So the only thing that they could possibly use would be dex. Well, of course, these guys' dex are screwed anyway, so I don't really need to waste Prescient Attack on them. But if they were standing up and dodging all over the place, hell yeah, I'll be using that. That's an amazing way to buff up your ray spells ahead of time. Of course, we don't have it on our character right now, but we can pick it. I should be using my sneak attack potential so that I can do stuff like a teeny tiny cantrip that only does
Don't hold back.
1d3 plus 1 damage because it's in point blank range. Remember, we're point blank masters. But then do 5d6 of acid damage because sneak attack, we're invisible, remember? So again, when you're fighting, once you get to a level 11 and are officially a point blank master, if you're not paying attention to your character, you know, like you co-piloting everybody, right? Feel free to leave your character on autopilot for something like Acid Splash or Ray of Frost, or if you're fighting undead, obviously the Disrupt Undead works too. Why? Because you'll always do your little ray spell and then poke, poke, poke at melee range. Why not get the free attack? Well, yes, there's a penalty to your swing for your weapon, -2, and there's a penalty to your ray, -2, because you're using Spell Strike, right? But remember, we have weapon focus ray and we have point blank shot. They're within melee range. That guarantees they're within point blank shot range. That's a +1 to your swing. The weapon focus ray +1 to your swing, so that's a +2 to your swing. That cancels that part out at least. It's a touch attack, so it's likely to land anyway, and you get a +1 to your damage because it's point blank range, thanks to point blank shot. Sadly, weapon specialization for rays don't work. Say something to the devs, I'd love to get my 2 points back. It's not that big a deal, but I do hate that I picked something that's useless. It's just, we needed to get point blank master ray. But I definitely will leave my character on autopilot in a fight, not after the fight. Make sure to shut that shit off. Why are we shutting it off after the fight? Because again, if you walk into the room, forget that this is on, someone gets within range, guess what he's going to want to start to do? Oh, time to cast a spell because I'm on autopilot mode. So make sure to shut that shit off. But definitely helpful information. From there, I think there's just one more thing to show.
Interesting.
Here's our Cloak of Dreams spell-like ability. Not teammate friendly. Do not have your team around you. It will put them to sleep. Notice, target is not affected by spell resistance because it's cast on you, for one. I don't know that spell resistance isn't a thing for them, but I assume that it's because it's putting it on you and you saw that the effect was personal to target. So obviously there's no spell resistance here. That doesn't mean there's not spell resistance for the
Their
effect.
life ends here.
But I'm not going to attack these guys. I want to watch you how this can work. I run into the room, my teammates are behind, so they're not anywhere near me in my aura of sleepiness. Just run around as best you can around the guys, and every round within a certain distance of you, they'll check for a sleep effect. Not having a whole lot of luck here landing this shit.
You should have run.
Well, I got one of you doofuses. There we go. Now it's supposed to make them sleep for like 1 minute solid. And I do believe that. I tested it out based on keeping track of the timer here. Remember, this thing's a 2-minute buff. Because it's a 1 round per caster level, you get it at level 20. Now I don't think you can extend it because it's a spell-like effect. It's not a spell. But you can get this as a spell. We did not pick it. But you could pick it up at level 19 in those free picks. And it is amazing. And again, pretty badass. But I wanted you to see something on this too. So look at the saves that they made on this, right? A difficulty of 33. Let's work out what this spell is. It's supposed to be a level 3 spell, or 6 spell, excuse me. So base 10 plus 6 is 16, plus my 7 from Charisma puts 16 up to 23. It's an enchantment. I have 4 on that, so 23 becomes 27. 2 more because I got my toggle on, right? So that's 29. It's 4 points higher, and I can't tell you why. I haven't a clue in the world. I'm not going to argue about it, because I'd rather have it be a 33, quite frankly, because that's a badass little buddy. And again, you only get one casting a day this way, but again, you can pick up the spell itself, and then it's a level 6 spell. Now, I didn't, it's not to say I wouldn't, but you'd have to give me something I'd have to drop to get it. Probably Mind Fog, quite frankly. But I do like Mind Fog because it does set up a big AoE of bad guys. Whereas normally I hate things like Pernicious Poison, which is a spell that sets up another spell. That's a single target, right? That's Pernicious Poison. That single target debuff of their saves for poison, and then you hit them with the poison spell, or someone else hits them with the poison spell, however you want to do it. That's weird. But AoE style Mind Fog is, as you saw, amazing. So, and the fact that they carry through after they leave, guaranteed for a minimum of 2 rounds, so long as they or failed their save the first time, they have it on them for 2 rounds after they leave that cloud. That's at least helpful for me. So that's pretty badass. Then, this one here, again, it is the effective sleep spell. So again, coup de grace, anyone? Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. And again, I got a minute from the minute they get sapped. Now, something else, let's actually stand back here, watch the timer tick down, watch them wake up, and there's a reason for that. It's going to take a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Should have just left a pause off while I was talking. You may be wondering why I'm doing this. I'm showing that we can hit them again with it after they wake up. It's not that they're immune to the effect. So long as the buff is still on you, which it should be when they wake up, or at least some of them, they should wake up within a minute. So when he gets back up, he'll come over to me. Here he comes. And again, if I don't attack him, the little doofus comes over here, I have the potential to trigger on him one more time. Like so. Just telling you that. Again, these aren't going to be immune to it kind of things. You will still have to check, and again, I can do the same for these jackasses that are waking up again now. So again, if you haven't finished the coup de grace because there's a room full of dudes, you have the potential skill to do
my
that.
masterpiece.
Like I'm doing, go through and finish them off. So again, I thought I'd hate this build. I really did. Until I started testing stuff and realizing all the cool crap that you get from it. So again, remember when you can do the automatic crits. Remember how you can buff from it so you can get maximum HP as a result of it. Remember when you really need to make sure the guy's staggered even if he survives the crit. Again, just because you're critting guaranteed doesn't mean they die. These guys are because they're wusses. Higher level content though, those dudes are going to take that beating and wake up and be quite pissed at you for slitting their throat while they was taking a nap on the floor. So, wouldn't it be nice if you staggered them for 1 minute guaranteed too? I'm just saying. Kind of cool. But again, part of the point of this build. Really decent, definitely useful, good damage, great crowd control, and again, when the enchantments and or illusions aren't working because they're just immune, because that just is a thing, we have spells besides. So again, we have spells that are not enchantments or illusions. We have ones that do damage. We have ones that stagger and stun them. We have ones that literally will just straight out kill the bastards. We have ones that can blind them. We have ones that do a variety of other stuff that's still good, useful, caster / attacker. Last little warning here though, just as a reminder, remember because we only have weapon finesse and piranha strike, find that agile weapon and enjoy it. If not, you're going to feel definitely subpar. This isn't really much of a meleeer. It's not that you suck, it's just you're not great like you could have been. And it's because of all these weird picks that we got to be point blank master. I still dig the Point Blank Master. I think it makes sense for this build, being a dex-based character. Remember, we can get all of these stats up 10 more on this side, which means another +5 to this side. So this could be, again, with Reduced Person on, a +4 to our strength, +9 to our dex, +5 to con, +6 for intelligence bonus, +5 for the wisdom bonus, which of course increases our will saves, +12 to our charisma, which increases our DC checks of all our spells, including our enchantments and our illusions. Remember, we have spell pen, greater spell pen, +2 spell pen, and we could get more if we switch the toggle. You will like this build. Now again, is it as good as the sorcerer? If I was the sorcerer taking this, again, I would have gone tiefling and I would be an enchantress pure. I wouldn't do illusion at all, which means I would have had a couple feats besides it to pick and choose as I want. And you'll also notice, just as a quick note, I didn't do weapon, not weapon, excuse me, spell specialization. Why? The limited spell list that we have is nothing. Note that this spell and this spell, even though they're enchantments, does not show up on our list because they were free spells that they gave us. The illusions would show up because we picked them as we level. That's different. But the hideous laughter and deep slumber, even though they should be on the spell specialization list, will not be on there because they were free. Same with all the ones that open up here when we pick them here at 19. They're free picks. They will not be on your spell specialization list because they were free picks. That sucks. Sorcerers, on the other hand, I would probably pick up spell specialization, especially for those enchantments, because that'd be kind of cool to have them be a +2 caster levels higher. Not all of them are going to rock, but at least the duration will last longer. I could see that being useful for me. And again, I'd probably pick up things like Constricting Coils because I'd have access to more spells. I'd still pick enough buffs and I'd still pick enough damage up as a sorcerer to have some fun. Because remember, enchantments aren't going to work on everything and everybody. But we have a lot of really good tools here. Ways to buff or debuff their to hit, ways to debuff their dexterity, ways to debuff their reflexes, ways to mess up a caster where they have to do concentration checks, penalties besides single target, paralysis spells, sleep and of course paralysis / sleep spells for helpless targets here, and of course the free one that you get down here. And even though this is not as amazing as like a sleep spell, this is still taking a guy out of combat until he passes his will save on it. Remember, you just laugh at that dude. He's ha ha ha, just standing his happy ass there. Let him laugh his fool head off until he makes his check. He's now neutered as far as you're concerned until you beat everybody else, and then go back over to him. Perfectly fine. All kinds of really nice stuff here. Just to show you how the greater dispel magic isn't working for me anyway. A fine example is, like, as you know, I have my Sirocco spell. I love to cast these things out there. There it is. And again, if I do the greater dispel magic, there is the difference between the target, which there is no target here.
This spell works differently.
So it's going to tell you can't do it. And of course, then you want the AoE one, right? Okay, we'll just make sure it's within the circle somewhere, right? Not a goddamn thing. And again, while I'd like to say it's broken, watch this. If I cast it weirdly in myself, I can actually dispel, reduce person, or shield, or both. You see the problem. So it clearly works, just not working right. I'm not sure why it's not working right. And I can do the same with the Entangle spell. It doesn't debuff it or dispel it. I don't know why it's doing this. So I'm fairly certain on my other builds when I pick Dispel Magic or Greater Dispel Magic for whatever reason, I'm fairly certain I can dispel Sirocco. I've done it before, is what I'm saying. So unless they patch that out, I maybe missed that patch. This is kind of annoying. So again, feel free to say something on the forums for that. No reason that you shouldn't get what you're paying for, quite frankly, as far as the build is concerned. But with that, I know this video's gone on long enough, but I was pretty excited about it once I started to realize all the fun you can have with it. But my name is Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. How would you change your feat picks? Would you go back to being just a meleeer and drop all this silliness, be a strength-based character? What would you do different? Tell us down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.